In the year 21X, Lord Boxman opened a store to arm his robot horde. But the heroes of Lakewood Plaza
are ready to fight! KO Renegade are in battle mode. Punch and kick the bad guys till they all explode. Power up and fight, let's watch an episode of Lakewood
Podcast
Turbo!
Boom, cactus, bloom in the plaza. On this week's episode of Lakewood Podcast Turbo, I'm your host Wyatt, and would a loser get to travel in the air in a vehicle made of delicious pie? I don't think so. Who is here with me today, as always?
Said delicious pie, Buster Corp. Hey.
And who is our very special guest for today's episode?
Oh, a cactus-themed supervillain, Morgan.
Ooh, Morgan, we've never had you on a podcast before, so this is a very special occasion because we go way back. I'll say that
too
to
far
all
back,
the
some
listeners.
would say.
So yeah, too far back. Some would say. I met you alongside other people who have listened to the Wyatt Phillips podcast Cinematic Universe. You know Cody, you know Nikki. Morgan is right up there with them.
Yeah, usually whenever you record something, I'm somehow in the background or in a chat giving opinions while you are doing that shit. Yeah,
and we have had many long Discord calls into the night talking about cartoons.
Yeah.
Some very obscure cartoons sometimes. You know, we're talking about Stormhawks. We're talking about
Slugterra. We're talking about
Time Squad.
The fact that I know what both of those are.
See, I always tout myself of I know every cartoon ever created ever, and am I joking? Probably not.
Who knows?
Honestly,
yeah.
I've watched too many cartoons, even the Canadian ones that are weird and fetishy.
Yeah, that's true. Grossology, you know. Hey. But I want to ask, so I would say this is a particularly cartoony cartoon. So OK KO, what is your personal connection to it? What's your feelings on the show as a whole, as it compares to like a lot of the other shows that were on at the time or just on Cartoon Network? Tell me about that.
So when it comes to OK KO is a kind of a weird cartoon for me because it's it was like one of the first cartoons I watched with my partner together when they were in Philly with me. Not just that, I'm also like, while I know all cartoons, I am an action cartoon person first. Wyatt knows this.
Sure,
You asked my opinion about any of those like fake anime cartoons. I have a billion opinions.
Yeah.
And like, while OK KO feels like a love letter to like fighting games, which I also love, it also feels like you could have slot this between like any of those weird shows and it wouldn't feel out of place. Like this show would have been the perfect pre-Toonami bumper. We're Ed and Eddie's going off and now we're getting Naruto. But first, let's get OK KO. It would have been fucking perfect. And it's what it means. That's why it means so much to me. Also, its sense of humor is just really up my alley.
Yeah. This, I think, because like all the board artists they're just really funny, Yeah. Like we talked about before, like in this episode, the first one we're gonna be talking about, Know Your Mom, Ryan Shannon and Parker Simmons. I've mentioned before, Parker Simmons is just so quick-witted and funny with his comedy and everything. And that transfers over to Mao Mao. That show is just like it's like. Even, I don't want to say insincere, but it's just like constantly jokes are just being like thrown out there, and like Badger Klops and Mao Mao are always arguing with each other, and that's apparently based on like Parker Simmons' real life with his friend who voices Badger Klops, so like, this show I feel like is able to be, it takes a lot of lessons from regular show. Toby Jones, one of the executive producers, he worked on regular show before this, also was a podcast guest last week. But I feel like this show, it incorporates that stuff. It incorporates what's good about stuff like Adventure Time. and it incorporates what's good about the stuff that Ian JQ, he was doing like webcomics and Newgrounds animations before, and it all the good parts and almost none of the cringe parts of those things. Not saying it's free of that, but just almost none of it is incorporated, and I think that it really props it up. It gives it a unique identity compared to a lot of cartoons at its time, even stuff in 2017 and even going forward.
And stuff now even.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, I could say in a larger sense that like Adventure Time to like last year, when everything crumbled into dog shit, was like the peak era for Cartoon Network and for cartoons on television and everything. But even like narrowing it down even further, I could say like 2017, specifically when OK KO started, in my opinion, you have stuff like OK KO. You have stuff like Craig the Creek, Mau Mau, Infinity Train.
Yeah.
Just like all these things right in just amazing shows one after another. So I don't know. OK KO. Like obviously we're doing this podcast, so it has a special place in my heart. But yeah, I think it's a unique show amongst all of its peers in a lot of ways, in terms of tone, in terms of style.
A lot of it turns out this is like
it like looks nothing like anything that's on air at the time.
Like every time I see it, it makes me like when I'm drawing, I'm like, man, I should use like a crayon or like pencil kind of brush for my line.
Yeah.
Just because like when you look at it
awesome.
close, I'm like, God, it looks so fucking good. Like.
Yeah. So okay. This episode, Know Your Mom, I wanted you as the guest
yes.
because Jonathan Davis
Of
from
Corp,
Korn
yes.
is. I remember back in the Tumblr days where we would share around the like isolated audio of just the without any of them. It's like just that vocal sample. And I think of that, and the other episode we've been captured. I remember watching with you, at some points, like on stream or something like that. So it's like I was like, oh, perfect. These two episodes I associate a lot with Morgan, so I wanted to
they're very
get you
me
on.
core.
Yes,
because
for sure.
I am like I like new metal more than. I'm like not the demographic for new metal. Like they're like, oh, this is like the like hell yeah, this is like the white boy music, and I am a black woman. But let new metal come on, I'm start vibing. Like so,
yeah.
Episode that I can't stop smiling the entire time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like one thing I love about this episode is that it like builds up to its climax. So it's like the entire like you don't know where it's going. Like, you think it might be just, like, a sweet sentimental episode with KO, like, oh, he's got to get a gift for his mom, and Brandon is conning the macaroni art off of him so he can eat it, which I love those characters, Brandon and Real Magic Skeleton. They're just, they're just, like, I don't know, they're a very realistic, I feel like, a gay guy couple, and
one's evil and a monster.
Yeah. One's a dude with a sleep apnea machine, so it's just that every single gay couple I have met, and been friends with, I feel like that it's those two personality types. But going from that where it's like, oh, has set into doubt that he can't like please his mom with like a gift.
Yeah, and that's like one of my favorite things about the episode is like the moral lesson, for lack of a better word. Where it's like sometimes you overthink, but like if you know a person well, like they'll be okay with it. It's just like sometimes you just overthink things that they won't even in the realm of like I didn't even think you would think that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I definitely have a problem of overthinking gifts myself. Though I try to get things that nobody would expect, but sometimes that backfires and it's like, oh, I get something that nobody wants,
I also like,
so like, Yeah.
I was always a handmade gift person. They're the best. Like,
Yeah.
I love to make and I love to give a handmade gift. Also, this episode, I think more than anything any villain in the show has done, I think Brandon's just the most evil. Like, just just imagining telling a child your mom's gonna hate that so you can eat the gift has got to be like the most like sociopathic thing on earth. What's wrong with him?
I love it.
The whole time I just couldn't stop crying laughing at it. It's such a good joke.
It just shows, I don't know, OK KO has a really great secondary cast. You know, all the main characters are great, but like the world of the plaza feels so built out, and each of these characters, you know, whenever they get like a little bit of a spotlight, it's always fun.
Yeah.
Well, eventually we'll get like a whole focus episode on these characters, but yeah, just this like little. Do you hear the fucking train in the background?
I heard a bit of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not editing that out. Anyway, so eventually, you know, it all culminates in, like, first of all, I love the run of jokes that are KO trying to call the other members of the Cactus Crew.
Yes.
There's like the first one, like the old one trying to, like, with the walker trying to get to the phone,
and then
then it just takes too long.
And then the
and then the next
hospital bed. No,
the nurse like making the bed solemnly. You know?
Oh, it's a fantastic sight gag. It's so good.
Yeah.
It has me in pain. Like.
And then, you know, of course, getting Succulentus, voiced by Jonathan Davis, shows up, and I wish I had written down each one of the new metal references.
Hey, fun fact, I did.
Okay.
I'm sitting here. I was sitting here watching the episode. My partner about like this. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. That's "Blind" by Korn. And hold on, here we go. We have the first one that was the last one was his "A cup of coffee could really wake me up inside." Gotta love Evanescence. Fantastic joke through and through. The "You Want It To," like goddamn down with chop suey one. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You Want It To.
Yeah.
There's also
actually
go ahead.
This does bring up like one of my favorite things about OK KO. It's like, yeah, I didn't understand a bit of these references, but it's still like I was still entertained by like this character. Like,
the joke still works.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to know. It's just like a general like wacky character that still like fits in. If you know, it enhances it. It doesn't like you don't need to know, you know?
Yeah. Oh, especially since this is like the demographic is, you know, kids 6 to 11. So it's like those kids are definitely not going to understand most of this, but their parents will, you know. So that's like where the jokes come in, you know. Like that's where the most potent.
I also want to give a shout out to like Jonathan Davis in general, because like there are so many guys from that era of music that are so serious and so self-serious and like really mean about it. Like the Trapped guy that made like "Headstrong, I Dig You," that guy is so serious, and if you make a parody of the song, he gets so mad. But like no, just like this. Oh, absolutely, yes, I will make 1,000 dumb references to even the joke of like, oh yeah, this was 6 to 11 years ago. The greatest, like, how out of touch, but also of an old but not that old genre new metal is. It's such a good, a good sport to be in this episode and do this. Like, it's so nice.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, the other rock artists or other new metal artists, just they don't like to play ball. No, you know, so. That's why, like, I feel like hip hop artists are a lot easier to get on for shows.
Oh, absolutely.
Like for Craig, you know, they had like Del, the Funky Homo Sapien,
Missy Elliott
on
too.
for one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Not only did they reference her earlier in the series, but they actually got her on later. But oh man, I love fucking Craig the Creek.
Yeah,
I've been
said, if recently.
Morgan. If you if you rewatch it at some point, we can contentify it, and I'll record a second alternate podcast to this one at the same time and do one about Craig the Creek
Why,
as well.
You don't have to even ask for a second. I will talk about the blackest cartoon on earth that relates to me in every single way. No problem at all. Absolutely.
I love it so much. But yeah, the not only is it like funny, right? This fight, but it is still like, it's cool because we don't get to see Carol in action very often,
Nope.
like at this point in the series. And it's cool because like his power set, like using the, blooming the cactuses in the plaza, is like, it's just cool. Like it just is a cool fight, even though it's like a font of a bunch of jokes, all in a row.
Like this is a villain that like could work in like just a normal action cartoon, because like cactus based powers, that's tight, that's just cool.
Yeah.
Like it's really fucking cool.
Yeah, and like he gets he comes back in the not the finale, but we fight to the end, the like final tournament episode, and like has like a brief fight where he's launching a bunch of bladed cactuses and things like that. Like I feel like this show does such a good job of like knowing when to be funny and to like not take itself super seriously, but also knowing like let's give them an action scene. Let's be cool for a second. My favorite example of that, we'll get to this later in the season, but the end of the first season, you have like one of the most amazing fight scenes animated, on a TV cartoon, and it's between TKO, who's like the edgy teen, and Boxman Jr., who's a diaper baby, who's like launching baby blocks and things.
But it's
like
so
it's
rad.
just so but it's fucking awesome. It's just like amazingly animated and choreographed and everything. The show just has like such a good mix of tones. But yeah, I feel like that's good for this episode. I love I love Carol, of course. So like any episode that has to do with her and her like history and kind of like digging deeper into her. I just like it when kids-centric shows or shows that are focused on kids then have episodes where we delve into like the parents and what's going on with them, or like focus on the parents, and they're like built out to be like real people, and that's like definitely more common now than it ever was.
Yeah, like
when I was a kid.
One of my favorite episodes of like Clarence, which I rewatched recently, is the episode where like we see how Clarence's mom, like Mary, deals with like her own mom and working. Those episodes make me feel like I don't know. I love like. I think more women in these cartoons, these parents and stuff, deserve that kind of time, and it makes it interesting. Like, I think about how many cartoons have moms and stuff, single parents or even married ones, that like are some of my favorite, most interesting parts of the show. Not just because I love a MILF, but also because like it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that. I think a mom could feel appreciated seeing that in a show, and it's nice.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like Carol's exceptionally well done because like. She's not only well done as her position as a mother, like is treated respectfully, but she has so much importance in the history of this world and like to the story. She's like the entire second season finale revolves entirely around her and her relationship with Point and, just her entire backstory. And that's such a huge driving feature of the show. Spoilers, the season 3 stuff that we eventually learn about, KO's parentage, like all of that, is also very important. And it never like, I don't know, it doesn't exclude her in any way, even though it like focuses on KO's dad in the third season. It's never like, oh, but we don't need to deal with the mom. Like in the first episode we learn about his dad, we also learn her feelings on the situation, and she's involved with it. So yeah, I think she's like an excellent character. She's adorable. Yeah. She just has like a great character design. I love any character with a tooth gap. Just because I have one myself. So it's just like, yeah. I try to incorporate it into many different character designs of my own whenever I'm drawing people.
Also, just side thing. Silver Spark, fantastic superhero name. I am a superhero named Snob. Silver Spark, real good. Also, her power reflects up. It's still great. Just a lot of the like real superhero names in OK KO, even the joke ones. I'm like, these kind of go hard.
Yeah.
Like these are pretty good.
Elbow being Gar's like old superhero name is excellent. Because it's like he's a luchador.
Yeah,
so like
he's elbow, but the bow, but also he does elbow. It's perfect. It's coming together.
Yeah. But yeah, so I feel, yeah, I said before, but like cartoons in the past, like, you know, Fairly Odd Parents or stuff like that, like they just didn't give a fucking shit about the parents, you know, like they're just jokes. Which is fine, you know, like even like Powerpuff Girls with you know, Professor Utonium, he is like a joke character for the most part.
Except for when he's seducing baddies all the time.
That's true.
Seducing the most sexy, sexual charged women on earth.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, now we're in, like, it's more common. It's not like 100%, you know, not every single show has like super deep, you know, like, oh, these characters could be the main character of their own show kind of parents. But like, yeah, it is, you know, it's definitely more common to get that stuff, and I appreciate that, you know, and especially like I've said before that I like flawed female characters quite a bit. You know, not even saying necessarily that Carol is, but this is a sidebar. But like, I just love it when like you encounter a female character and you're like, oh god, they suck.
Yes.
Like they're just like a bad because like for so long it was either like cackling villain or like the perfect idealized GF, you know, and it's just like, I love it when you get like these characters that are just like, I don't know, they're just like somewhere in the middle. They're not like terrible people, but they suck. Like you wouldn't want to like hang out with them in real life.
Why, you already know my opinion on awful women.
Oh yeah.
As an awful woman. But like, yeah, I'm a big fan of it. If you have a cartoon, anyone out there making a cartoon, and you put a woman in it who isn't inherently the main antagonist, but does things that make you go, I don't know, then I'm already in.
Yeah.
If she's like a little bit witchy vibes, I'm in even more.
Yeah.
She's homoerotic, I'm fully in, and I'll die for your piece of media. So
yeah. So next episode we have to talk about episode 18, We've Been Captured. Also boarded by Ryan Shannon and Parker Simmons. So this is a double back-to-back with these two. Yeah. Both episodes very funny, so like it makes sense, you know. I keep on highlighting Parker Simmons. Ryan Shannon also very funny, you know. Like she's just like, I love, you know, she doesn't post on Twitter that much anymore, like art and everything, but like, you know, just a funny, energetic person, you know. Did a lot of the writing for Neon White, the game I deeply love. So, you know, either way, this episode is extremely important to me because it introduces one of my favorite villains in anything ever.
Yeah,
Professor Venomous. And
a perfect Tumblr sexy man, top to bottom. Let's go.
Oh my god, yeah! it's so, I love him. He's just so, he is the perfect Tumblr sexy man. Like I say, very Onceler-esque. I think it was specifically, it might have been Ryan Shannon, though it could have been another person on the team. I remember hearing this in an interview that like they were going to make Venomous a similar kind of like sleazy evil guy to Boxman, but they were like, no, you gotta make him hot, and then Boxman's like the short frumpy looking guy, and that's where, you know, the dynamic comes from. So like they made Venomous hot, and that was the most perfect thing that they could have chose. Voiced by Stephen Ogg, you know, who was,
speaking of which, Stephen Ogg as Venomous is bonkers. It's so like it's so, he always plays villains or creeps, right? But never the kind that Venomous is. Like, he's never like a sexy guy. He's always like a really weird, like a Boxman type, for lack of a better term. Like even like Grand Theft Auto or anything else. So having him be like this, like his voice is pretty much the same, but it's very much a style and inflection he does that shows he has chops as a voice actor. Because it goes from like, haha, I'm bonkers and I'm scary and I'm creepy and I smell your clothes, to like this suave evil guy. I'm like, Steve Ogg has like a range. Okay, like
it's because like Trevor in GTA 5 is fucking insane. Like he's just like, he's a psychopath, you know, like he's not
scheming, he's not plotting, he's just
Yeah, he's just like a disturbed person. And then, but him as Venomous is like, you know, this is kind of bored, always in control, always like, you know, going to the next thing kind of guy. And like, I love the arc in this episode of him, like thinking like he's wasting his time, thinking he's just going to break off this professional relationship with Boxman. But then Boxman like proves his chops by the end of the episode, and then that's when they become, you know, attracted to one another truly. And just in general, like, okay, I'll say this. A lot of early on in the show, when I wasn't entirely sure, because, you know, a lot of times kids shows, especially in 2017, couldn't get away with anything more than subtext for gay relationships and things like that. A lot of it was more just like, you know, oh, clearly this is like a subtextual, you know, it's supposed to be like, especially in season 2 where they like get a house together and they change the name of the company and everything, you know, and then they start like, he starts like making modifications to all the Boxmore bots to make them organic and things like that. It wasn't like, by the end of the series though, it becomes just it's text. Like, oh shit, they actually are like, they aren't just, this isn't subtext.
Yeah, they are text. Together.
Yeah. So it's just, it's the beginning of like, I think an incredible gay romance, which we don't get super often. Even now, like a male on male like gay romance is pretty rare. In children's cartoons. Usually it's two women, which is fine, but like
even, you know, then, like,
for some reason it's just a little bit more rare for two men. And like the fact that it's these villains, and it like the show is so cartoony and so over the top that like I don't think that it's like feeding into any bad stereotypes or anything. I think it's just like these guys are just like, you know, they're cartoon supervillains. You know, they're nothing about what they do is realistic. You know, you can't possibly like put any like negative things from what they do onto real life or like translate that into real life. So it's just like, to me, I love that like one of the first big ones that we get for a male on male gay relationship is like these two ridiculous cartoon villains. And it's just like it's so much better than like, you know, maybe I have to remember who I'm talking to here, but you know, regardless of your opinion on Gravity Falls, Morgan.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. It did have, you know, the two cops at the end, and I always thought that was like, you know, it's like, what a fucking, I always hate when they have like, oh, they're gay at the end.
Yeah, it's a cop out.
You know, in a show. Like, it's just, it's such a fucking, such a fucking cop out.
And like,
you know?
And the thing is, I think the balance is, and I talk about this all the time, I like have a lot of opinions about like gay characters and stuff, is that it's okay if you have gay villains. It's fine. Just they can't be your only gay people in your gay couple. And like, I give it a pass because like, spoilers, Enid gets a girlfriend. So like, I'm like able to like let this down because like, we don't have just villains showing this because that it's a bummer.
Yeah.
So like,
we have, and then even for like the male relationships, I said before, like that is just subtext, but like Brandon and Real Magic Skeleton, you know, like it's easy to read deeper into that than, you know, oh, they're just like buddies hanging out, because like they're always together. And they have such a old couple relationship with one another.
Even the way that like Real Magic Skeleton scolds Brandon feels like a like relationship, like where this is the one that's together and this one is not. Yeah, it's nice, and I do love that it's venomous because oh man, what a by rights, I guess.
I actually want to, like, while we're talking about the relationship, I love how, like, their relationship, like, this is getting a bit further ahead, but just general, it goes through a lot of ups and downs of, like, it's not just, like, one tone throughout. It goes through, like, its ups and downs. And, like, I just really like, you don't really see that a lot in cartoons. And it's weird that's the villains, but it's also just really fun, you know?
Yes, for sure. Like, that's something that I think is awesome about the show in general. Because, again, cutting ahead, like Gar and Carol, you know, they get together at the beginning of season 2, And then by the end of season 2, you know, when it's revealed that, you know, like Gar has been still working with Point while Carol like left and everything, and or like the other way around, Carol's still working with Point and Gar gets upset, he leaves, you know, he breaks things off, and like eventually they resolve their problems by the end of the episode. But it's like, yeah, you know, you can have characters get into a relationship, it doesn't negatively affect them, it doesn't make them more boring or anything or make them annoying, it's they're still the same characters, you can just tell new stories with them, and you can have moments where there's like tension in their relationship, but it doesn't have to be like a big fucking dramatic thing, you know, we don't have to spend like we don't have to constantly deal with, you know, relationship drama or anything like that, you know.
Yeah, no love triangles here.
I just recently finished Star versus the Forces of Evil for the first time, and that show has many, like, so many times of characters like getting into relationships one episode, and then like 2 episodes later, you know, something goes wrong and there's some problem. Sometimes off screen, I'm like, what is this? What are we doing here? But you know,
well,
whatever.
That's a show.
I do want to give a shout out to Fink also.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
Fink. I love
She's
Fink.
She's introduced at the same time as Venomous, voiced by Lara J. Miller.
Which is just, I just want to say, this is not Digimon. This is not Digimon. This is not, hi, Kari!
Yeah.
No, this is not Digimon. But the voice is so powerfully Kari that I can't get out of my mind.
I know, she has such a great, like, unique voice.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've really never heard anybody that sounds like her.
No, 100% same. Like,
yeah.
I think it's her in Beastars. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, she's Haru.
Yeah, and I'm like, and the
which
thing is,
awesome.
that's good casting. I'm like, no, if a rabbit was like a girl boss, this is what the rabbit would sound like.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's because like the idea is like, oh, Haru is such a cute, innocent looking character, so she should have kind of a like that kind of like cute voice. But she is like a very like sexually mature
because so the inflection and
like,
everything really sells that other parts of it. Like it really shows like her length of what she could do as an actress.
Yeah, it's just like an awesome choice, and of course she's Libby in Ghost of Molly McGee, who she's the best character in that show. Not just because she's Jewish, but you know, I mean partially because of that. But you know,
Fink is so interesting to me because Fink's so weird.
Yeah, like her sniffing Venomous's
jacket.
Yes,
what's wrong? Like, and also the fact that she's not Venomous's child. Like, because the thing is, though, most villains in this show, henchmen equal child, usually.
Yes.
But Fink has such a hard, like, this is like, no, this is my bodyguard / minion. Not much out.
Yes.
You put her in a baby Bjorn, that doesn't mean anything. And it's just like, what are y'all? This is
exactly.
up.
Like
adopted child.
See,
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, like so. Speaking of that, the favorite scenes in this episode are Daryl and Shannon. You know, just like popping in every so often, like that moment where they're both like standing patiently, smiling, and being like, "Daddy, can I put on my sailor suit today?"
No, he's like, "Can I put on the outfit?" Which is the part that made me cry, because like it makes you go, "What's the outfit? What's the outfit?" And then you see like this, "Daddy, can I sing?" And like, no, wait, yes, Shannon, you can go sing. I love Shannon so much. She's perfect.
Yeah.
She's perfect. She's just me for real.
Yep. And that moment where they're eating dinner and Daryl just rises from the background wearing the sailor suit.
Just Daryl. Daryl's already a funny-looking character, and you just put him in a sailor suit, and he's already more funny-looking.
Yes, it's just. Also, this is not a knock against the show. It truly does sell the character design of how they act, because the thing is, though, I've told this before. I think that like, whenever they're not in the scene together, I'm like, Daryl just sounds like Rad. But whenever they're in the scene together like this, Daryl doesn't sound like Red. And like, because it's just like the energy of how Daryl gives lines, and also the shit Daryl says makes you go, "Nah, these are different characters. These are fully different characters." It's great.
Yeah. One thing I love. This was the first time, really, that the show focuses more on the Boxmore side of things than the bodega side of things, you know. Like, I think the closest we had to like a focus on the villains episode before this was the sibling rivalry where what the fuck's his name, Raymond first shows up. It focuses more on the robots than it does on the heroes, and like here it also feels like, yeah, the name of the episode is We've Been Captured, so it's like it is technically about KO Rad and Enid, but like they really are second fiddle to the comedy hijinks of like Boxman trying to put on like this perfect dinner for Venomous in order to like keep an investor. Like it's both like business minded, which is funny, but because it's also like vaguely romantic, that makes it even funnier, you know, because it's like he's your business partner and you're trying to schmooze him over with like a fancy dinner date and everything, you know. And yeah, just his children singing, you know, Shannon singing the "When you're climbing up a ladder and you feel a little splat."
No, that was no, and then Fink coming in the next scene humming it.
Yeah.
God, perfect transition of jokes, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Fink and her relationship with the Boxmore bots like later is so good. Like she becomes like the Angelica to the Boxmore bots being like, you know, the babies in Rugrats. It's just it's so good. But yeah, the like I love that the climax of the episode isn't like a big action scene. It's like a big dumb like food fight.
Yes,
scenario.
a sexually charged food fight.
Yeah.
I love Boxman's buff Rambo. Also, the physical comedy of just ripping parts off his kids.
Oh yeah, to like form a Super Sentai team cannon. That's amazing.
Yeah, cannon.
Just through violently ripping parts off. It's such a good visual joke that he gets buff and you see his pecs go everywhere, and they're like, oh,
yeah.
oh.
There's no
then,
heterosexual explanation for this. I'm
None
sorry.
at all.
And then he like Venomous asking to use the gun to like finish them off, and then like that, like ending the episode with them being defeated. You know, like I don't know. That's just like such a cool choice. Like at this point in the series, really to establish even during this comedy episode that Venomous is like no one to joke with, and like him and Boxman are like a formidable duo.
Yeah, together, yeah.
You know, so yeah, it just really sells those characters and like makes you like pay attention. Like I remember when this episode first aired, I was like, oh, I really hope Venomous like keeps coming. I hope he ends up being like a long-term villain. I could even see him perhaps becoming a more threatening villain or a more important villain than Boxman, which spoilers does end up happening. And like this just like set that in place, but did it in such a funny way, like this, the way only that this show could do, you know. I don't know. It's just two fantastic, very, very funny, very entertaining episodes in a row. So, do you have anything else that you want to mention about this episode before we move on to the end?
I don't think just Dream World. God, I wish Raymond was in this episode. That's it. It's nothing. Yeah. But also, Raymond's too cool. He would just be on his phone, like, "What are you doing?"
That's true. Yeah, this was still like pretty early on, so it's before like Raymond started getting incorporated more into the stories. You know, I think he's shown up like once more since his introduction. Yeah. But you know, like I definitely, he has some of the best episodes in the whole fucking show.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited to get to the disco one.
The fashion runway episode at the end of season 2 with where Rad versus Raymond, and they're doing like a fashion show, and it's like a fucking actual like shonen anime battle that they're doing.
I'm so excited to get to that one.
It's like that's probably my favorite episode of like one of my favorite episodes of the show. Definitely a season 2. But yeah, so I think that will do it for the episode. Morgan, how about you tell us where we can find you?
You can find me oh wow, I have an actual answer for this time around. You can find me on Twitter posting too much and drawing too little at bodega_baddie. You can also find me. Besides drawing superhero stuff, I also play as a superhero on an actual play podcast. So you can find me at Dice Comics, all one thing, where I play the daughter of Lex Luthor, who sucks, and it's really fun. So,
yeah. All right. And Buster, how about you?
Hey, hi, I'm Buster Corp. You might be watching this on the YouTube channel that I'm posting the video version on. I do YouTube videos on. Right now, it's too much tokusatsu, but I'm trying to do a bit more variety. But we try. I'm also on Twitter at BusterBlue3. I also on Tumblr at Buster's Corp, where I just retweet cool art I see. And
God, I haven't been on Tumblr in a long time.
yeah, it's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you?
Oh, well, you can find me at twitter.com/WazRanger. That's WACP Ranger. I do a lot of stream of consciousness stuff, but sometimes you can find me posting about what I'm working on, videos I'm making, things that I'm writing, and you can find videos that I've written over at It's Only Magic, YouTube. Yes, that is a reference to this show. I do a lot of cartoon retrospectives and like personal retrospectives, things on like Homestar Runner, things on like OK KO, of course. I did a video on that. Haven't been making a lot of videos this year. I won't be too clear about why that is, but you know, there's reasons why. But either way, go check that out. I'm very proud of a lot of them. Camp Lazlo one, that's a banger. Go check that out. Chowder one, also a banger. Go check that out. But either way, thank you all for listening to this 10th episode of Lakewood Podcast Turbo. Join us next week as we tackle episodes 19 and 20, which are Face Your Fears and Everybody Likes Rad. See you there.
So, you're gonna let us go?
No. I'm just gonna have to wait till after dinner. Like a mint. A punish mint.
When you're climbing up a ladder and you feel a little